There's nothing quite like the promise of a day on the water to lift your spirits, especially when you've hit that stage of life where peace and quiet feel like a hard-earned reward. That's exactly what my wife Emily and I had in mind when we set out for a getaway on my dad's $1 million yacht. Nautical nonsense. At 55, I've learned to savor these moments. Coffee in hand, the sun rising over the marina, casting a golden glow across the 50-foot vessel that's been in our family for years. Dad, a retired Navy captain, kept her in pristine shape, and we were eager to escape the daily grind. The marina was blissfully quiet that morning, the usual clatter of weekend sailors replaced by a stillness that felt like a gift. We strolled down the weathered dock, the salty breeze mixing with the faint smell of diesel, a familiar scent that always signals adventure. Emily's eyes sparkled as we boarded, her picnic basket packed with enough cheese, fruit, and crusty bread to make any retiree jealous. We cast off, the twin engines purring as we cruised 10 miles out to our favorite cove, a hidden gem where the water's so clear you can spot fish 20 feet down. There we swam in the cool, crystalline waves, snorkeled among rainbow-colored parrotfish, and toasted to a perfect day with a chilled glass of white wine. The towering cliffs and gentle lapping of waves made it feel like paradise, a private slice of heaven just for us. But as the sun dipped low and we steered back to the marina, that peace shattered. A figure stood on the dock, arms crossed, foot tapping, and what started as a serene escape spiraled into a storm we never saw coming. After a day of pure bliss on the water, Emily and I were easing nautical nonsense back into her 50-foot slip at the marina, the sun setting behind us in a warm amber glow. At our age, pushing past 50, you learn to appreciate the simple joys, a quiet dock, the gentle sway of the boat, and the thought of a cozy evening ahead. But that peace was short-lived. As we approached, there she stood. Karen, a woman whose reputation for entitlement could fill a logbook. Arms crossed, foot tapping like she was keeping time for a marching band, she glared at us from the weathered wooden planks. "You're in my spot," she bellowed, her voice cutting through the evening calm like a foghorn. I blinked, exchanging a puzzled glance with Emily. We'd reserved this slip through the marina office, fair and square with paperwork to prove it, but Karen wasn't having it. "I've been docking here for years," she snapped, her face turning a shade redder than the sunset. "Everyone knows this is my spot." It was the kind of arrogance that makes your blood boil, especially when you've spent decades respecting rules and earning your place. Emily, ever the calm one, stepped forward with a steady voice. "We understand your concern, but we followed the process. Maybe there's a mix-up?" Karen's eyes narrowed, a manicured finger jabbing the air. "Move your boat, now!" Before we could argue further, Mr. Thompson, the marina manager, ambled over, clipboard in hand, drawn by the commotion. "Problem here?" he asked, peering over his glasses. Karen pounced, insisting we were trespassers, but Thompson checked his records. "This slip's theirs, Karen." "Yours is next door," he said, firm but polite. Her mouth flapped open and shut, like a fish out of water, indignation rolling off her in waves. With a dramatic huff, she stormed off toward her own boat, leaving us shaking our heads. "Well, that was eventful," Emily whispered, a faint smile breaking the tension. I chuckled, thinking it was over. Little did we know, her entitled tantrum was just the spark that would ignite a firestorm, testing our patience in ways we'd never imagined at this stage of life. The day had been perfect. Sun, sea, and serenity aboard my dad's 50-foot yacht. Nautical nonsense. But by nightfall, trouble found us in a way that still makes my blood pressure spike just thinking about it. Emily and I had settled into the cozy cabin, the gentle rocking of the boat lulling her to sleep after our adventure. I was still awake, savoring the quiet, when a faint thud from the deck jolted me upright. At 55, you don't ignore odd noises. Not after years in the Coast Guard taught me to trust my instincts. Slipping on my pajamas, I crept up the narrow stairs, silent as a shadow, and what I saw under the silvery moonlight stopped me cold. There was Karen, hunched over the anchor winch, her silhouette as unmistakable as her attitude. She fumbled with a knife, poised to slice through the 200-pound anchor's line, a reckless act that could have sunk us if she'd succeeded. Karen, "What on earth are you doing?" I barked, my voice a mix of shock and authority. She jumped, the knife clattering to the deck, her eyes flashing defiance. "You're trespassing. This boat's illegally parked, and I'm fixing it," she hissed as if sabotaging $1 million yacht was her civic duty. I stepped closer, incredulous. "This is my father's boat, legally docked. You've got no right here." Before I could finish, she lunged for the knife. Instinct kicked in. I grabbed her wrist and we tussled under the stars, a chaotic dance on the damp deck. Her foot slipped, slamming the anchor release lever. With a groan, the chain unspooled, the heavy anchor plunging 30 feet into the water below. The yacht lurched, and a sickening crunch echoed as it smashed a 3-foot gash into the hull. Wood splintering, metal scraping, a sound that'd haunt any boater. Emily bolted awake, rushing to the cabin door, wide-eyed, and grabbed her phone to record the madness. Karen, disheveled and seething, jabbed a finger at me. "This isn't over," she spat, storming off. Staring at the wrecked hull, I knew we'd crossed into a storm no one saw coming, one that'd test everything we'd built at this marina. The chaos of that moonlit night left nautical nonsense wounded, her once pristine 50-foot hull scarred by a 3-foot gash from Karen's reckless sabotage. At 55, I've seen my share of storms, literal and otherwise, from my Coast Guard days, but this was a mess I hadn't bargained for. Emily and I stood on the deck at dawn, the marina buzzing with neighbors drawn by the commotion, their murmurs blending with the gentle lapping of waves against the docks. Karen, still wild with defiance, paced the slip, her voice shrill as she spun a tale wilder than a fisherman's yarn. "They attacked me. They damaged their own boat to frame me," she screeched, pointing at us like we were the culprits. It was the kind of nonsense that'd make you question your own sanity if you didn't have proof. Thank heaven for Emily. She'd kept her cool in the cabin, recording every second of Karen's knife-wielding rampage on her phone. That little device held the truth. Karen sneaking aboard, slashing at the 200-pound anchor line, and the chaotic tumble that sent it crashing through the hull. As the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, Marina Security rolled in, led by Officer Daniels, a stout man with a no-nonsense air that reminded me of my old drill instructors. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his eyes darting between Karen's theatrics and our weary faces. Before we could get a word in, Karen pounced, demanding our arrest. I took a deep breath, stepping forward. "Officer, this yacht's my father's, legally docked. Last night I caught her sabotaging it. Emily's got it all on video." Emily handed over the phone, her hands steady despite the exhaustion etched into her face. Daniels watched the footage, the crowd falling silent as Karen's actions played out in stark clarity. Her furtive movements, the glint of the knife, the anchor's plunge. His expression hardened, jaw tightening like a man who'd seen enough foolishness for one lifetime. Turning to Karen, he didn't mince words. "Ma'am, based on this, you're under arrest for vandalism and trespassing." Her eyes widened, shock giving way to desperation. "You can't be serious. They're the criminals," she protested, but Daniels was unmoved. "The evidence speaks for itself. Turn around." As he cuffed her wrists, her protest grew frantic, but the crowd's once sympathetic glances turned to disapproval. They'd seen the truth, same as us. Daniels faced us again, clipboard in hand. "We'll need statements at the station, but we'll handle the reports and get you started on repairs." I nodded, gratitude washing over me. "Thank you, officer." As Karen was led away, Emily squeezed my hand, a weary smile breaking through. The marina settled back into its morning rhythm, and though the ordeal had tested us, that video ensured justice wasn't just a hope. It was a certainty we could stand on, solid as the dock beneath our feet. The aftermath of Karen's reckless stunt left nautical nonsense battered, a 3-foot gash in her 50-foot hull staring back at us like a wound on an old friend. At 55, I've learned life throws curveballs, but this one hit hard, especially since it was my dad's pride and joy. $1 million yacht he'd kept shipshape from his Navy captain days. Emily and I stood on the dock that morning, the marina humming with concerned neighbors, when a sleek black sedan rolled up. Out stepped Dad, Captain James, late 50s, salt and pepper hair, and a steely gaze that locked onto the damage. "What in the world happened here?" he demanded, his voice a mix of worry and barely contained anger. I recounted the night's ordeal, Karen's knife, the anchor drop, the crunch that echoed across the water. His jaw tightened, fist clenching, a retired officer's instinct kicking in. Before he could respond, another figure shuffled over. Mr. Whitmore, Karen's husband, early 60s, his face a roadmap of embarrassment. "James," he started, voice low, "I'm so sorry for Karen's behavior. Let me cover the repairs. It's the least I can do." Dad's eyes narrowed. "Richard, this wasn't just impulsive. It was criminal. Money doesn't erase the danger she put them in." Whitmore's shoulders sagged, but he nodded, knowing there was no easy fix. Then Officer Ramirez approached, crisp in her uniform. "Captain James," she said, nodding respectfully. "Karen's in custody. We've got evidence, but we need to discuss legal steps." Dad's reply was firm. "We'll press charges. This can't be tolerated." As she left to handle paperwork, the marina community stepped up. Tom, a weathered sailor pushing 70, clapped my shoulder, sharing how Karen once berated him over a 10-foot slip. Linda, spry at 62, offered muffins and a quiet thank you for standing firm. Whitmore lingered, pleading softly. "A criminal record will ruin her, James. Can't we settle this?" Dad's tone was measured but unyielding. "Actions have consequences, Richard." As he walked off, Emily slipped her hand into mine, her silent strength a lifeline. The yacht was family, but so was this community. Boaters who'd rallied around us, proving that at our age, you don't face storms alone. Together, we'd see this through, one plank at a time. The saga with Karen didn't end on that chaotic night. It stretched into weeks of tension that tested our resolve. But justice finally docked at the marina, like a long-awaited ship. After her arrest for slicing at the anchor line and smashing a 3-foot hole into Nautical Nonsense's 50-foot hull, Emily and I met with Detective Harris at the station. At 55, I've learned the wheels of justice turn slow, but Harris, a seasoned officer with a fair-minded air, laid it out plain. "The video's clear. Vandalism and trespassing. Pressing charges means a legal process. You ready?" We nodded, knowing we couldn't let this slide. Not for Dad's yacht, not for principle. The marina buzzed as word spread, folks over 50 swapping stories of Karen's antics, how she'd commandeered slips or barked at newcomers like she owned the 10-mile coastline. Our stand struck a chord, giving voice to years of quiet gripes. The court date dawned gray, the courthouse looming like a stern judge itself. Inside, the air was thick as the prosecution played Emily's footage. Karen's knife glinting, the anchor crashing, her defiance plain as day. Marina staff testified about her history, and repair estimates pegged the damage at $50,000. Karen's defense floundered. Her usual bravado shrank under the weight of truth. When the judge banged the gavel, guilty on both counts, I felt a collective exhale from the crowd. She'd pay restitution and was banned from the marina, a ruling as solid as the oak benches we sat on. Stepping outside, fellow boaters, gray-haired sailors and retirees, offered handshakes and well done, their support a balm after the storm. That evening, aboard the yacht in its early repair stages, Emily and I sat quietly, the gentle rocking a reminder of the peace we'd fought for. The community didn't stop at the verdict. Folks organized a barbecue, tables lining the docks with potato salad and grilled fish, a potluck celebration of new beginnings. Mr. Thompson, the manager, toasted our unity, glasses clinking under a golden sunset. At our age, you cherish when right prevails and neighbors rally. The marina healed, stronger than before, proving that even at 50-plus, standing firm can mend more than just a boat. It can rebuild a whole community. After the dust settled from Karen's chaos, Nautical Nonsense stood as a testament to what grit and good neighbors can do. That 3-foot gash in her 50-foot hull, a scar from the night Karen's recklessness unleashed a 200-pound anchor, had been sanded down and patched up over weeks of steady work. At 55, I've seen my share of fixes, but watching Dad's million-dollar yacht gleam again under a fresh coat of varnish felt like a victory lap. Emily and I stood on the dock one crisp morning, the sun painting the marina in golden hues, the salty breeze carrying the scent of renewal. "She looks even better than before," Emily said, her eyes reflecting pride earned through every scrubbed plank. I nodded, a grin tugging at my lips. It's amazing what a community can pull off together. The marina folks had rallied. Tom, a 70-something sailor with a laugh like a foghorn, hauled supplies, while Linda, spry at 62, baked us muffins as a thank you for standing up to Karen. As we prepped for our first voyage since the ordeal, the crowd gathered, their well wishes floating over the water like seagulls on the wind. Tom clapped my shoulder with a grin. "Patrolling the waters now, Captain?" I chuckled, shaking my head. "I'll leave that to the Coast Guard, but I'll keep an eye out." Linda handed Emily a basket of fresh rolls, her voice warm. "You two set things right. We've all gained from it." With a gentle cheer, we cast off, the yacht gliding out of her slip, the sun dancing on waves 10 miles out. Emily joined me at the helm, her hand in mine, the horizon stretching wide. "Here's to new beginnings," she said softly. "And leaving rough tides behind," I added, squeezing her hand. The marina faded to a speck, a symbol of battles won, Karen's banishment, the $50,000 repairs she'd foot, and a community knit tighter than ever. At our age, you learn storms pass, but what lingers is the strength you find in facing them. With the wind in our sails and the open sea ahead, we embrace the promise of calm waters, proof that even at 50 plus, a fresh start can feel as good as the first day of summer. The story of nautical nonsense and Karen's chaos carries lessons that hit home for us over 50, wisdom earned through years of navigating life's unpredictable waves. First, it reminds us that standing firm for what's right, even when it's tough, pays off. Karen's entitlement wrecked a yacht, but evidence and resolve brought justice, showing that truth holds power at any age. Second, it's a testament to resilience. Repairing a 50-foot hull took time, but with patience and effort, we can mend what's broken, whether it's a boat or a relationship. Most importantly, it underscores the strength of community. When the marina rallied, neighbors like Tom and Linda offering hands and hearts, it proved that at our stage of life, we're never alone unless we choose to be. For us seniors, this means leaning on friends, speaking up against wrongs, and finding peace after storms. Life's too short for petty battles, but too long to let injustice slide. So next time trouble knocks at your door, hold your ground, trust your people, and know that every repair, every sunrise is a chance to start anew, stronger, wiser, and together.